Today on Security Briefs, we continue our Secure Connections series. Last time we introduced the tension between transparency and protection, and we talked about stewardship, not secrecy. Today, we're going to build on that foundation by addressing something that often goes unspoken, but shapes everything about communication in missions, and that is this. Not all mission fields are the same. Some places are fully open to Christian ministry. Some are culturally sensitive, and some are legally restricted or even hostile. The way we communicate must reflect the context in which we serve, because what is safe and appropriate in one country may be unwise or even dangerous in another. So today, we're going to talk about how context shapes communication. First, to our missionary friends, you know better than anyone that context matters, but sometimes we forget to help our supporters understand that reality. Very broadly speaking, most ministry environments fall into three general categories: open, sensitive, and restricted. In an open context, Christian work is legal and generally accepted. You can often share photos, church names, ministry locations, and specific stories more freely, though even here, wisdom is still required. In a sensitive context, Christian workers may be legal, but socially discouraged or culturally delicate. Public communication may create friction or unnecessary attention. In these environments, discretion is not fear, it's strategy. And in restricted context, Christian ministry may be illegal or tightly controlled. Communication must be carefully filtered. Names, locations, and timelines can create very real consequences for local believers. The mistake many missionaries make is assuming that supporters intuitively understand these distinctions. They often do not. So part of secure connection is education. Without sharing sensitive details, you can help your supporters understand your general communication environment. You don't need to explain everything, but you may need to explain why communication looks the way it does. Because clarity reduces confusion, and confusion often erodes trust. One other thing to consider is that contexts can change rapidly. There are countries that were relatively open 20 years ago, such as Russia or Turkey, that have since enacted laws or policies limiting public evangelism or foreign religious workers. Others, like India, remain constitutionally open, but have seen increased regulatory pressure in certain regions. The point is not politics, the point is volatility. Context can change faster than we expect. You may also change countries. Just because you're in an open context today does not mean you'll always function in similar context. It's wise to prepare in advance for sudden shifts by moving away from being completely open, even if that is your context today. Your post will follow you wherever you go, no matter what country you serve in. Now, to our supporters and churches, if you support more than one missionary, you may notice that their updates look very different. One shares photos freely, another rarely shares names, another speaks in broad themes and avoids specifics altogether. That difference is usually not personality, it's context. When you understand that ministries operate in different environments, open, sensitive, or restricted, it becomes easier to interpret communication correctly. If your missionary serves in a restricted environment, limited detail does not mean limited fruit. It means greater risk. Your role is not to press for details that create vulnerability. Your role is to provide steady prayer, faithful support, and trust. And if you're ever unsure, ask privately rather than publicly. The Apostle Paul adapted his approach depending on where he was. He spoke differently in synagogues than in the marketplaces. He adjusted language and strategy without compromising the gospel. Communication strategy has always been contextual. Secure connection requires humility on both sides. Missionaries willing to educate and supporters willing to listen. When both sides understand that context shapes communication, partnership deepens. So here are some practical takeaways. Missionaries, in your next update, consider briefly explaining your communication environment without sharing sensitive information. Help your supporters understand the why behind your wording. And supporters, When comparing updates between missionaries, resist the temptation to measure openness as effectiveness. Ask instead, what context might shape this communication? Secure connection grows when context is understood, and when context is understood, trust grows with it. Now you know. We'll see you next time as we continue to talk about secure connections.